In this video, we'll be covering loops in Python. I'm going to start off by creating a variable called I and setting that equal to 1. And a while loop is a very simple loop. I'm going to just create while I is less than 10. And we're going to go ahead and print the letter I. Now, the next line, it's very important that we increment the value of I. We're going to add 1 to it every time it runs through the loop. If we were not doing this, what would happen is it would be called an indefinite loop. It would just run forever or until we ran out of memory. So we're going to set I equals I plus 1. And I'm going to save the file and go ahead and run it. And you'll notice that the output we get is 1 through 9. Every time it ran through the loop, it added another one. So the value of I was 1 greater than the last time it ran through the loop. And then once we got to the point where when I was 10, so 10 is not greater than 10, it would just exit out of the loop. Now we can refactor our code a little bit here. So instead of having I equals I plus 1, if we have I, we can use the plus equal operator 1, and that is the same thing as saying I equals I plus 1. So I'm going to go back up to this line and I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And then if we save this and rerun it, we're going to get the exact same result. Now let's say we wanted to include the number 10. We can use the less than or equal to operator. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and the only thing we're going to change is this. So 10 will be included. So if I go ahead and run that, as you can see, we got 1 through 10 as our output for the second while loop. And then the same operator, the same rules apply if it's greater than or equal to, and then if we're counting backwards. So the less than or equal to or greater than or equal to operator is going to be useful in a lot of use cases. The next thing I'm going to do is create a list. So we're going to have a list of players. And looping through players is very easy. We can just we use a for in loop for players in players, or for player in players. Then if we save that and go ahead and run, as you can see at the bottom, we got Frank Thomas, Barry Bonds, and Cal Ripken, each in line. There's a lot of variations that we can do. Let's say we wanted this to be sorted. That's very easy to do. We can just call the sorted method. And Python will know automatically how to sort these because we are passing in a list of strings. And obviously at the bottom, we got Barry Bonds, Cal Ripken, and Frank Thomas. I'm going to go ahead and silence these. And there's going to be different times where we're also going to want what position each player is in the list, the index value, in other words. We can do that also. So we would have to set two variables we're going to have I as index and then V as the value. And then we need to call the enumerate method. So if we go ahead and print both the index and the value, then we save that and we go ahead and run it. It looks like we have an indentation error. So we have to have, if we have a for in loop, we have to have something on the next line that's actually running code, not just a comment. So fix that. And then, so each one is, remember the indexes in Python are 0 based. So we have 3 items in the list. So the first one is going to be index of 0, which is Frank Thomas, followed by 1 and 2. We can also do the same thing with sets. And go ahead and create some space here. I'm going to create a variable called set1. And we're going to call the set method, and then pass in a list of 1, 2, and 3. And this is going to work the exact same way. So for s in set, actually set1 is our variable name. And then if we save that and go ahead and run it, we're just going to get our values 1, 2, 3. Very similar to how it works with a list. Now keep in mind, when working with strings, we can do a for in loop with a string. However, what it's going to do is it's going to loop through every single character. And we'll go ahead and demonstrate this by creating a variable called string. Okay, we're going to create a for in loop. So for s in string. Then we're going to print s. Now if we save the file and run that. So basically it looped through every single character. That's including spaces, and every single one of them printed on a new line. Finally, we're going to create a dictionary and loop through that. So we're going to create a dictionary called players. And what I'm going to do is, this is an example from a previous tutorial. We're just going to have a dictionary of players indexed by the player's name. So I'm going to go ahead and paste what we had in there from the previous video. Okay, as you can see that there's a dictionary containing 3 players, and it looks like we need to fix our indentation. And if we go ahead and create a for loop, I'm going to create some space. We're going to go ahead and just print the player. Save that, and we're going to go ahead and run that. And you'll notice that when we loop through the players, what it's printing is just the keys. The key is the player's name. The value for every single one of these elements in the dictionary is another dictionary that contains the stats. So we have a situation where we have nested dictionaries. So if we wanted to loop through everything, we can still do that. So we would have to loop through every key and value inside for each player. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another for in loop. So for key value in players. Now we have to call the items method. And so we can print both the key and the value. And if we save that and then we go ahead, let me clear what I had from before. So now that we loop through that, so each key is going to be the player's name, and each value is the entire nested dictionary that contains the stats. Now we can also loop through the value, the dictionary containing the stats. What we would need in that case is a nested for loop. So I'm going to go ahead and add that while we're in the middle of it. After we create some space. So for key, let's call it val. And we're going to call v.items. And the reason why we're doing that is because the value is, so in our first player, the value is this item right here, which is another dictionary. So since v is a dictionary in of itself, we need to call the items method on that to loop through all of these. So we're going to loop the first item, for example, is going to be position right field. The second item, team Marlins, and so on. And we can go ahead and print these out. So I'm going to print key val. And I save the file. Let's clear what we had. And run that. So coming through our first loop, well, we have the first for in loop. So it's printing the players' names. So this is what we're focused on right here. And we're still printing the key and value in this line. And then we're going to loop through the V items, and that's showing up right here. So we're just simply printing out line by line all the values that are in this dictionary containing all the stats. So this has been Python Loops. Thank you for watching.